Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Science Thursday, we're gonna talk about small scale vertical axis wind turbine. So let's dive right into it. Now first, we have to take a quick overview of wind basically. Now it's a good source of clean energy and it does have one core benefit over solar, that it does work on night. So that is one tangible advantage. Specifically if you are trying to run a grid, you do not have the luxury of okay, at night it does not work. You do not have that luxury. So in those sort of scenario, wind really does have a very significant stronghold, and that's why people are still investing on wind technology even though solar is cheaper. That's the primary reason for that. It's like at grid scale you do not have the luxury, okay, this power plant, yeah, it shut down at night, yeah, that's not acceptable. For solar we have to do that, but that's only possible because there are other things at night that can pick the load, which at this point in time is fossil fuel. So that's why people are putting so much interest into wind. So it works 24/7. However, there is one serious caveat with this puppy, is that solar almost anywhere on the planet where humans are will generally work within a given range. It's like for example, some places in India you can expect you put a solar farm, let's say X amount of solar farm, that will give you 4 kilowatt. Now that same X can be placed somewhere else, it can give you 6, someplace else where it will give you 3, but it will always work. However, it's not the same with wind. Wind in some places are like very location specific. You have to be exactly here, exactly on top of a mountain, only then you will get something. If you go somewhere else, bye bye. So this is something you have to be very mindful about. That is why you do not see wind farm everywhere, simply because they are very idiotically location sensitive. It's like good location, GG, you don't even think about it. Bad location, yeah, that was a money waste. So this is one thing you have to be very mindful about. Then we come to horizontal wind turbines, the normal wind turbine type that we see. And the technology in this puppy has matured a lot, as in like the R&D money that was poured into this puppies are insane. And the primary reason for that is they turn a profit. At this point in time, the company selling this, they make a profit. The power corporation that are utilizing this to sell electricity, they make profit. People taking electricity, they get cheaper electricity. So everybody is winning, and it's green, it's stable, it's done. Like the R&D is done. At this point in time, it's just like how big can we make it. So at this point in time when I'm making this video, the biggest turbine I could find is from a Siemens. I provided the video down below. That puppy is around 15 megawatt. Yes, you heard that right. 15 megawatt from a single goddamn turbine. It's insanely powerful, and the primary reason is that you want to reduce the number of turbine, because the maintenance would be directly proportional to the number of turbine, not how complex or how big it is. So if let's say instead of 15 megawatt you had 10 megawatt, you still need the same amount of staff. So if you can increase the megawatt capacity, you will have the benefit, and it will reduce the component count because you will have less turbine. So fundamentally it does make profit. However, it makes profit on a grid scale. Basically, if you are running your whole country on that, these things make sense. And the capital investment required to do these things are idiotically high. I'm talking around $20 million for these sort of puppies. So they are very idiotically expensive. And on top of that, it's not one-time investment. It's not like solar farm where you just put that and forget about it. It also has high maintenance costs. Now, not as high as coal farm or gas plant or things of that nature, but still you need to have engineers, assistants, like you need basically man force in order to take care of these things. And in sea-based system, that is one of the primary reasons where people were very hesitant about sea-based wind farm. It makes more sense to put them on sea, but people had to do that simply because human was the limiting factor. So we have to sort some things out. So it is expensive, it does make profit, but only at grid scale. If you're talking about in megawatts, hundreds of megawatt, people are like, awesome. The moment you start talking in kilowatt, they're like, what? Don't talk to me. Then we come to vertical wind turbines, vertical axis wind turbine. Now they do not make sense when you're talking about huge. Flat out, you will not find any system where it's like 15 megawatt vertical axis wind turbine. Yeah, you're not gonna get that. So let's be very real about it. It does not make sense on huge power system. And while it does not make sense on a huge scale, it does make scale awesome sense in small scale. When I'm talking about around few kilowatts to tens of kilowatt, in those sort of scenario, this puppy makes awesome sense. And the primary reason for that is it works on slow turbulent wind. Basically, let's say you are talking about a apartment building. Generally it would be surrounded by other buildings. Now in those sort of, you can have wind. Heck, the fact that there is a basically blockage that could speed up the wind velocity. So let's say you have a seawall that has like a lot of slow wind coming, but there is like choke point, that point will increase wind velocity, but it would be very turbulent. Normal turbine does not like that. This puppy eats that up like it does not matter. And because of the fact it can work on turbulence, it also has the ability, it can work from all directions. So basically wind change in direction does not matter at all. It's like, I got this, I don't have to worry about this, I got this. So that's really good. Now one thing why people on communities will like this is simply because it's much quieter than the normal wind turbine. Normal wind turbines, the tip goes ludicrously fast. If you ever wondered why the heck wind turbines rotate so slowly that you can see them, the reason for that is basically all the aerodynamic surface is engineered in such a way the RPM remains low. I mean, like, why the heck you want the RPM to be low and spend money and engineering on gearbox to increase the RPM? The primary reason for that is that if you have RPM that is high, the centrifugal force on the blade would be too damn high. Now that itself makes your blade more expensive, but the consequence is the tip, it reaches a point where it's touching supersonic, and that is idiotically loud, as in your eardrums will hate you for doing that. It's like very, very, very loud. So people try to keep the RPM as low as possible, even though it will makes more sense to like increase the RPM a little bit. The sound becomes unbearably loud. So wind farms are not a place where it's like quiet. Now because it's a noise is continuous, people do have the natural ability to tune it out, small habits. But like if you're talking about noise pollution from a like 15 megawatt wind turbine, that would be brutal. So you have to understand that part. That's why like if you put giant turbines, like even 1 megawatt turbines everywhere in the district, people will hate you for that. So this puppy is much smaller, and it does make sense on small scale. Those things will only make sense if you have good wind flow, if it's low turbulence, it's high enough, everything has to be perfect. This puppy is far more tolerant. Yes, it will not give you megawatts and megawatts and megawatts of power, but it's more than good enough to run a small household. So that's the unique selling point of vertical axis wind turbine. Now mobile towers are a very big infrastructure architecture in our days. Like you will see mobile tower, I can guarantee it, I can bet money on it that you have seen a mobile tower. So generally on average each mobile tower is running on lower than 10 kilowatts of load. Now of course there will be some backbone mobile tower that are connecting one area to another area that will be consuming more power, but generally the average is around 3 to 4 on a small tower, 5 to 6 on big ones, and generally 10 below. It's like if you can provide 10 kilowatts of power load to it, you're good. So 10 kilowatt is a lot of power, but it is within the range and capability of vertical axis wind turbine. So, and because of the ubiquity, basically how often do you see a mobile tower, how many are being created, there is a very huge market demand for it. That means any company developing this puppy will have profit, which is the primary reason for that. And because it has low noise and enough power, where it's not like it's too weak for it. No, it has enough power. And for remote places, it does make a lot of sense. For example, there are many places in India that has good mobile coverage, but it relies on solar. And because solar, while it's good and all, it does not work 24/7, and many times they have to use insane amount of diesel to make sure it works 24/7. So in those sort of scenario, you can utilize basically wind and solar, and both can back each other to a point where like generator will rarely come out. It's like, of course you will keep it there, of course you will turn it on once a week just to make sure whether it's working or not, but you get the very good uptime without having giant carbon footprint. Heck, some people have put actual wind turbine on Eiffel Tower. So at this point in time, it's a known technology, and many people are investing a lot of money into making this puppy a reality, simply because mobile towers are tall, high, and they are in windy positions. Heck, mobile towers are ludicrously well designed to make sure that they can withstand high winds. So they are already there. It's like you have the location, you have the infrastructure, so you can just plonk it down there. So basically remove one segment, put this puppy up, done, go home, everybody is happy. So this is a really good innovative ways. Now you may be like, wouldn't it be better to just have giant green offshore wind farm? Yeah, but where would you get the capital for? And global warming is such a big problem that we have to solve it on all fronts. We cannot be like, do this, I don't have to think about it. We do not have that luxury. And again, if you are a company and let's say your mobile tower price goes up by let's say 10% or 20%, and you're like, okay, power bill goes down by like 99%, you're like, dude, that's a bargain. That's like, shut up and take my money. So there is a lot of great margin in this puppy, and many companies are looking at it seriously. Then we come to another aspect, roads. Now roads is very interesting for that, simply because vehicles move a lot of air. Basically the volume of the car or a truck or whatever have you has to displace that amount of air. Like the amount of energy that your EV batteries are dumping, your petrol engine is dumping, your diesel engine is dumping, your LPG engine is dumping, it's some amount of that energy is going into displacing the air. Now air has motion now, because again air was static, you displaced it, it got motion. Now that's wasted energy from your point of view, you can't do anything about it. How? However, what if in the divider area you put turbines there? Now this turbine will extract that energy. Now be mindful, this is not free energy, and it's not like your car fuel consumption will go up. It's simply harvesting wasted energy. It's like you had a furnace has a lot of waste heat, but you try to recover the waste heat. That's, think of it that way. Do not think it's free energy, where it's like, car is not losing any fuel but you're getting wind energy, that means it's awesome. No, it's like car has to displace the wind. It has to displace the wind. And again, if you put it in some place where you have let's say railway traffic, that's like a lot of wind speed. The railway engine has already dumped the energy, so you have to extract, basically utilizing it, increasing the efficiency. And the idea with this system is very simple. It's like light poles are already there. If every national highway has a rules and regulation where it's like a light pole has to be at certain distance. So we have infrastructure already built there. We have vehicles that are already moving. So why not put turbines there? Now, primary problem with this sort of turbines is like they have to be idiotically light. Otherwise, they will not simply spin up on a low velocity wind, which these vehicles will create. So that's the first thing. They solved it by utilizing carbon fiber. I provided the video link down below of this channel, and this guy's got funding from government, and they are testing this system out in full scale in stadium area, where they will figure things out how those things work. It's like the person developed everything, and now it's like, okay, let's do real world testing. So the idea on mathematics, on paper, is that each of these puppy can easily provide 1 to 5 kilowatts of power, every hour without any issue. And if you are talking about like a highway where cars are on average running at 50-60 kilometer per hour, that's a lot of energy. So their mathematics were a few kilometer is like more than few megawatts. So that's a lot of energy we are talking about. Now then you might be like, okay, we got the wind turbine. That's easy. If we figure this out, you have the pole, that's awesome. But how the heck you gonna pump power everywhere? Thankfully, because of the development of solar technology, we also have something known as micro inverter, basically a system that directly takes in the DC and syncs it with the AC grid without having any issue. So it's like that technology is already taken. It's just plonk it from there, put it in this. So roads also make a lot of amazing avenue for energy generation, because you are already expending the energy. Extracting the waste energy is awesome. And capital cost is not too damn high, simply because this can be done in one unit at a time. It's like just put one pole, figure things out, to refine the system. Does it work? Does it make sense? Because that's the sole reason why solar farms are so popular nowadays, because normal Tom, Dick and Harry can do that at their rooftop. I would have been doing that if my life would not have went boom, but things happen. Like I can guarantee at least someone somewhere that is like that has a solar farm, simply because hey, electrical bill is too goddamn high. Having solar is like practicals at this point in time. So this has that benefit. It's like government will not be like, oh dude, there's like $20 million, I have to find take a loan. No, just like, if not even millions, thousands of dollars, it's just like test it out. Does it work? Does it make sense? What are the problems? How can you refine it? Like you do that, and then you brick by brick, and the more profits they make, the more you can install. So fundamentally, it has a lot of amazing features, and it's one of those things which will help us in a very small way. But because of the road infrastructure expenditure, how much money we spend on our roads, how much energy just lighting those puppies consume, and how much wind energy is there that we can extract without too much hassle, it's like a criminal waste to avoid it. So fundamentally, that's also a very good use of small scale vertical axis wind turbine. So this was my presentation on small scale vertical axis wind turbine. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike. Press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment, because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.